Student engagement. This presentation is about sparking your creative ideas into life to engage your students in learning. I encourage you to draw upon experiences from your own life that you enjoyed doing and incorporate these into your teaching. Do you play a musical instrument or sing? Do you enjoy making things? Are you good at craft? Do you have a favourite hobby? Is there a game or games that you like to play with your friends when you were younger? When it came to teaching my students, I drew on these experiences, as these experiences gave me great joy, and there is nothing better for students than having a funny, compassionate, interesting, and enthusiastic teacher in front of the class. I wanted to be interesting, creative, and different in my approach, and that's how I taught. I was always thinking outside the square. How could I make this concept interesting to teach? I was also practical, using what's around me. I engage students in my classes with ideas gleaned from using A4 paper, including making puppets. I use games from my past, as well as others I found in books, on the internet or TV. I have played soccer and basketball, so I use those. I loved music, singing, and composing songs.
They don't rate the fridge man, they don't cook or bake. Fast food ain't stand, not even birthday cake. They don't move around, they live in the soil. Stuck in the ground, don't work, don't toil. How do plants do it to survive, not miss? It's down to a hit of photosynthesis. You take chlorophyll green, energy and sun, CO2 with water, make glucose and you're done. And oxygen to breathe, diffuses through the leaves. Atmospheric cleaves and cells are relieved. How do plants do it to survive, not miss? It's down to a hit of photosynthesis.
Playing different characters and putting on different accents. All these ideas became part of my teaching in the classroom. I present these ideas to you, to inspire you to engage your students in different ways. Use them, adapt them, and make them your own. What I did helped me to enjoy my teaching even more. Your students will become enthusiastic about coming to your class. They'll want to learn more, and they'll go home and share their experiences with their families. Isn't that what we want? As Phil Beadle once said, there's no such a thing as a badly behaved student. It's a boring lesson. Let's not be boring. Let's be creatively engaging. Paper, A4. Did you know that you can enhance student learning with just an A4 piece of paper, or any paper for that matter? There are numerous ways to do this. Here are some methods that I used in my classroom, just to get you started. But don't be limited by mine. I'm sure you will think of many other ways of using A4 paper that I haven't thought of. Go on, experiment. The possibilities are endless. How exciting. You can make it an 8-page booklet. Investigate its strength. Roll it as a cube. Spin it as a wheel. Flip it as a chart. Pop it as a book. Jump it as a frog. Rotate it as a pyramid. And animate it as a puppet. 8-page booklet. Let's look firstly at the 8-page booklet. Making 8 pages from 1 page. Wow! In the picture you see, the F stands for the front page and B stands for the back page. Follow these instructions to transform your piece of A4 paper into a booklet with 8 pages. 8-page booklets can be created by students for note-taking or revision, or come as the completed package prepared by the teacher, and all the students need to do is fold it. Here's a trick I learnt. If you crease fold all your edges, you won't even need to use scissors. Why don't you see how strong A4 paper is? Let's test its strength. You'll need a ruler, scissors and glue. Divide and cut the A4 page evenly into thirds. Create 3 shaped columns: circular, triangular and square. Conduct a proper scientific investigation. Remember, you are only going to change one variable and control the rest. Take each shape in turn and place more weight on it progressively until it collapses. Do the same with the other 2 shapes. Which shape came out the strongest and why? Learning cubes. Remember those board games with dice? Why don't we learn through rolling dice? Roll the cube. What it lands on, can you tell? Use the Learning Cube template. Illustrate each face of the dice. Now cut it out, making sure that you are generous with the size of the tabs that connect each face, as that makes gluing easier. Fold it and glue it together. It can be used as a great revision tool or to stimulate a question and answer session in class. What have I got here? What does this picture tell me? Learning wheels. Spin the wheel. Where it stops, can you tell? See the examples. Cut out 2 circles from the A4 sheet of paper. You need a big circle and a small circle. Illustrate both wheels as required. Place the small circle over the large circle. Insert a split pin or something that allows the wheels to turn. Spin the wheel and discuss the outcome. Diagrams on one wheel and connecting words on the other can be a way of consolidating learning. Flip charts. Flip the chart. Do you know the hidden information? Place your A4 sheet on the desk and both sides inwards so they meet in the middle. Now take your ruler and, depending upon the number of paired statements that you are going to write, draw lines across the page. You will need a ruler to match up your lines so the spaces that you write in are even. Now write in those spaces. For example, words on one side and meanings on the other, or a syllabus dot point on one and an explanation on the other. Once you have finished writing, you can open either side to hide its content, and hey presto, you have created your first flip chart. You can now flip either column. With diagrams running down the middle, you could create a 3-way flip. Great for getting students to check for understanding, because when a side is flipped over, they can't see the information. If you want to isolate each pair of statements in the column when hiding them, make a cut along the line above and below to form a strip. Pop-up books. Pop the book. Do you know what's going to leap out from the page? Pop-up books are great fun. You can do single or multi-page books. The students are great at creating complex ones with tabs and pop-up arrows. Simply fold an A4 piece of paper in half, cut 2 slits in the middle and tease out the created slot. Glue something to the slot, fold the page down, then open it and out pops your work. Jumping frog, a great way to introduce kinetic and potential energy. You will need to square up your A4 sheet of paper and then let the folding begin. Whose frog can jump the highest? Which frog jumps the furthest? Can you measure its kinetic or potential energy? Formula, pyramid. In your science class, you have just taught the students that density equals mass divided by volume, and the relationship between density, mass and volume. Why not make a formula pyramid to help students visualize the relationships between these 3 variables in the density, mass, volume triangle? Students construct the formula pyramid, then give students a task to find the density or mass or volume in a series of problems. Students rotate the pyramid to find the right formula to solve each problem. You can even construct formula pyramids for force or velocity or work. Puppets. See the template. Just draw in the details of the inside of the mouth, then draw the features of the puppet on the outside. You just need to measure out the dimensions for an accurate size puppet. You can draw your own or take ideas from the internet or books. Puppets can illustrate your teaching of both animate, famous people or parts of living things, and inanimate objects. Fold the top and bottom half of the puppet's face behind the mouth parts. Take it in your hand, move your fingers, and the puppet talks. Games. Use a set of markers. They can be made of anything, so long as they stand out and are safe around running students. For your boundaries, and take the students outside for a breath of fresh air and a change to your teaching. Ultimate tag. I liked to play tag when I was younger. What about incorporating it into one of your lessons? You need 8 markers that form 2 rectangular boundaries with a 3-metre gap between the 2 rectangles. A game of tag can be played after teaching paired concepts in class, such as antonyms versus synonyms, or non-metals versus metals, or true versus false statements. It can be used for mental maths. For example, different addition problems that give either the sum of 3 or 4 as an answer, or difference of 2 or 5 for mental subtractions. The ideas for potential paired concepts are endless. Students line up in pairs facing each other on the inside lines. One side answers to one of the paired concepts, the other side the other. For example, antonyms versus synonyms. The teacher calls out a statement, fast and slow, and the students respond. The antonym side must take off immediately and make it over their end line before being tagged by their partner. The students go back to the inside lines to await the next statement. The teacher completes a number of these before the students head back to class. Groups. Getting students to work together in different sized groups in a game is great fun. You need 4 markers to form a large square boundary that the whole class can fit inside with space to spare, as they will be running around. The teacher gets the students to walk around within the square boundary. He or she calls out a compound, molecule, or element, and the students must form that number rapidly. For example, call out oxygen. Students must form a group of 2. Then methane. Students must form a group of 5. Then gold, just to trick everyone, group of 1. Then water, group of 3. And sodium chloride, group of 2, and so on. Anyone too slow or having an incorrect number in the group is eliminated. Last 2 students standing are the winners. Sport. Students identify with different sports and the sports stars who play them. Have you thought about using a sport to illustrate a concept in class? Basketball. I use basketball to explain how our body fights off disease, and soccer to explain kinetic and potential energy. Here's how I did it. The body has 3 lines of defense to prevent itself getting infected, and basketball has 3 main types of defense to stop the opposing team scoring goals. So I took the students outside onto the basketball court and set up a team of 5. I walked around the keyway bouncing a basketball, demonstrating the effectiveness of the different types of defence in turn. The 2-3 zone, the 2-1-2 zone, and the man-to-man defence, and how they related to the body's defence mechanisms. First line, non-specific external, defending outside the keyway zone. Skin, tears, earwax, and nasal hairs. Second line, non-specific internal, defending inside the keyway zone. White blood cells, inflammation, fever. Third line, specific internal defence, man-to-man defence, B cells and T cells. We then went back into the class to discuss the concept of the body's response to infection further. Soccer. Exploring energy through kicking a soccer ball. Kinetic energy investigation. Kinetic energy is the energy of motion. Let's explore this theme when kicking a soccer ball along the ground and find out who had the most and least kinetic energy in the male and female groups. Take the students outside to work in pairs. 1 to time and 1 to kick the ball, then swap over. Make the distance from the fence or barrier 7 metres. Time how long it takes for the ball to hit the barrier from 7 metres out. All the students had their times recorded. Then it's back inside to complete the calculations. Kinetic energy equals half the mass times velocity squared. Given, the mass of soccer ball equals 0.5 of a kilo. Velocity equals distance divided by time. The distance of the kick equals 7 metres, and the time to hit the fence equals 0.3 of a second. Then velocity equals 7 divided by 0.3, which equals 23.3 metres per second. So kinetic energy equals half of 0.5 of a kilo times 23.3 squared, which equals 0.25 times 542.89, which equals 135.7 joules of energy. Potential energy investigation. Potential energy is stored energy or the energy an object has because of its position. Let's explore this theme by kicking a soccer ball into the air and find out who had the greatest potential energy. You will need a clinometer and a trigonometry table with tan values. See my website under the heading Physics, Sport, Soccer and Energy section for further information and resources. Students kick a ball as high into the air as they can, 15 metres away from you, while you measure the angle of the highest point the ball reaches using the clinometer. Take the students inside to complete the calculation. Potential energy equals mass times gravity times height. Given, mass of soccer ball equals 0.5 of a kilo, gravity equals 10 metres per second, height to eye level equals 1.4 metres, distance of kick from the line of sight equals 15 metres, average angle equals 70 degrees, tan of 70 degrees equals 2.7475. Then the height will be 2.7475 times 15 plus 1.4, which equals 42.6 metres. The ball travelled a height of 42.6 metres. Therefore, potential energy is equal to mass times gravity times height, which equals 0.5 times 10 times 42.6, which equals 213 joules. Music. What about singing about concepts you are teaching the students in class? You can just use your voice. Well, howdy, partners. This is science, and this is a country and western song. Yeehaw! There's four natural forces in all: a big nuclear force and one that's small, and gravity that makes things stick, and electromagnetic with a push-pull connection. They have magnitude and direction. They have magnitude and direction. Yeehaw! And can you believe it? That was all about force. Or if you play a musical instrument as well, even better. Do you write your own material? I wanted to teach the 5 pieces of evidence for a chemical change. So I wrote a song about it. It's a chemical change, new products form. It can be heat or light from a firestorm. It can be a gascade or a coloured change jack. A precipitate, but it won't change back. It's a chemical change, new products form. It can be heat or light from a firestorm. It can be a gascade or a coloured change jack. A precipitate, but it won't change back. Incorporating an 8-page booklet into this lesson is a nice way to reinforce the understanding of the evidence for chemical change, and a nice memento for the students to take home and teach their parents. It's always fun to incorporate some dance moves as well when learning a concept. I wrote a song to help students understand how to balance ionic compounds in chemistry. How you do that can be summarized in 2 words: drop and swap. Add some dance moves with a catchy tune and lyrics, and you've got an unforgettable way of learning an important foundational concept in chemistry. Here's an edited version of the song. You can see the entire song and check out the resources that accompany Drop and Swap on my website.
Here's zinc chloride. It's so easy once you've tried. Take the plus 2 minus 1. Drop and swap them and you're done. You've got to drop and swap the elements and radicals to make it work. Ammonium sulfide, a radical and sulfur side by side. Take the plus 1 minus 2. Drop and swap them and you're through. Drop and swap them now, and think, not blunder. Together, radical and envy. This aluminium phosphate, numbers balance ain't that great. Take the plus 3 minus 3, cancel them out and let them be.
Characters. Are you good at acting as a famous person or mimicking their voice to make your lesson interesting? Well, why don't you use this ability with perhaps a puppet to explain a concept in class?
Well, hello, possums, or should I say primates. I want you to imagine maybe a typical day in your life. We are going to use this day as the context and reason for studying the Year 12 Human Biology course.
I wore a swimming cap when I wanted to pretend that I was the famous Michael Phelps, the incredible Olympic champion from America, on introducing human biology in science, because he has remarkable adaptations that helped to make him an elite swimmer. I had a pink wig when I was Mrs. Grink, hello primates, and put on a Scottish accent if I was Dr. B.E. Connolly.
Oh, hello, parents and students of Year 8 Science, and a warm welcome to another wonderful year of learning. I bet you didn't think I could be scientific, did you?
Being interesting and creative engages students. For when teachers teach differently, students see differently. The following is a letter received from a student at the end of Year 12. I just wanted to say thank you for teaching me human biology for the past 2 years. Although I didn't want to study human biology at the beginning of Year 11, I very quickly changed my mind. And that was not only because I realised my interest in the subject, but was mainly because of the way you taught. in an interesting and engaging manner. Not many teachers I have had have been able to do this, and so I really thank you for all the time and effort you put into teaching the subject. I have really enjoyed learning more about how the human body works, and I am sure it's a topic that I will remain interested in and continue to learn more about. I don't think I will ever forget the unique way in which you taught me, particularly the podcasts and the dressing up, and the way I always enjoyed your classes.